Welcome to Innovators Hall, Night 1. My name is Reverend Marie Onwuba Ariri, hosting you this evening. I know it has been a long day, but has it been filled with God's Spirit? Have you been inspired by the stories you've heard? Are you beginning to tell your own stories? We pray that that is true, that you will have opportunities in intimate conversations or otherwise to begin to tell your own stories. That's what this Space for Grace and Spiritual Caregivers Conference is all about. Tonight, we have a brief program of Innovators Hall as a way to give you a taste of what it might be like if you were to just kind of capture your story and tell an audience. And then we'll invite you back tomorrow for a fuller lineup. But tonight will be rich. ABHMS has incorporated Innovators Hall in Space for Grace since our very first conference in 2015. And the vision was to be a sacred space for presenting God's story and being the presence of Christ in fresh and innovative ways. A space to offer an inspirational and conversational space for everyone at the conference in a relaxed way, right? There's people talking, that's fine. We've got exhibitors here, people are connecting, and that's okay. It's been kind of a coffee house feel or an evening open mic atmosphere. We've had gallery walkthroughs and a formal stage for creative, diverse, artistic, and innovative expressions. We've incorporated dance, visual art of different media, vocal and instrumental performances, written and spoken word, humor, entrepreneurial displays, and film screenings, with presenters informing and inspiring all who gather. In this year, we will shine a light on storytellers in our midst who are inviting us to come close to see and hear their own presentation of God's story and their stories. Innovators Hall will encompass both this stage performance, but we also have a living exhibit of 6-word stories that you will hear more about later on. These live presentations tonight will run about a half hour or so, but then we invite you also tomorrow night, starting at about 7:30, where we'll have a lineup of 8 different storytellers. So the atmosphere that you can anticipate to see, if we can advance the slide, as I mentioned already, you might hear some hustle and bustle throughout. You are welcome at any time to stand, get more at the reception. But as much as you can, listen intently to the stories from the mic. Respond with appreciation in your own way, whether that's snapping, gasping, just standing. But we also want you to care for yourself as needed. Whenever we invite people to bring their true personal stories, we want them to bring their full selves. And sometimes when we receive those stories, we're not quite sure how that might impact us, how that might intersect with our own story. So whatever care you need, we invite you to take that care. We have beautiful trained chaplains with us throughout the weekend, and as you've been hearing, there are ways that you can receive their care as needed. And then after each storyteller, both tonight and tomorrow, we will take a moment of ritual to receive and honor the stories of the tellers and how they offer it. So we will invite your participation in that ritual, and our slides will guide us. So thank you once again for being here. We are live streaming this session. This is the only part of the conference that we are live streaming. Innovators Hall tonight and tomorrow on our various ABHMS platforms. So if you have friends that aren't with us this week, you can text them real quick to join for tonight and then also again tomorrow. So without further ado, I want to introduce our first storyteller for the evening. For these storytellers, we invited them to let us know how they want to be introduced. Not necessarily in the kind of bios that you might be used to hearing. And so I will read as quotes from them. So our first storyteller tonight is the Reverend Yana Cruz Pagan. And this is what she says. A modern-day woman at the well could look like anyone who defies the norms of convention and lifestyle. She might wear clothes that express her individuality, whether that means bringing herself outfits or simple, understated styles that reflect her inner journey. Her hair might be dyed. She might wear it natural or unstyled. She might carry symbols of her activism. She is unafraid to be herself, even if the world sees her as a weirdo or outsider. Like the Samaritan woman's encounter with Jesus, her story becomes transformative, not just for others who see her bravery in embracing who she is, but all. That woman is me. Let us receive the Reverend Yana Cruz Pagan.
This is in the context of John 4, the woman at the well. My sassy Sam. La Samaritana, la perla. The gift given in disguise of urban colors, street beats, and unique smells, symbols of resilience and beauty that inspire pride and hope, rooted in faith that lifts us beyond our circumstances. La Samaritana, la perla, el barrio. The world side-eyed whispered about, warned you never to walk through, don't go down there, ten cuidado, lock your doors, clutch your pearls, text your location. Pray first. A place that is too broken, it's too messy, it's too dangerous. But let me tell you something. When you stand inside La Ciudad, you don't see danger. You see color, you see courage, you see walls shouting with murals, cracks singing in the rhythm of the streets and the people's stories. In the city, broken pieces remixed by the spirit into art, art with a story y sabor, because it's got to have some flavor. La Ciudad is a mosaic, every fragment, every fracture, picked up, placed, refused, the trash pile refurbished and turned into a masterpiece. Why do I tell you this? Porque sí, porque estamos aquí, we are here. I know what it means to find strength in the midst of struggles of urban life, faith that is transformed by pain into purpose. La perla is us, the people of the urban streets. La perla is every soul they told to hide, every story they tried to erase. Every woman tried to silence before she even opened her mouth. See, I too was a street kid. They suggested you skip a chapter. They skimmed me and shouted rumors before I became a person, tattooed, scarred, Boricua made, Bronx raised, the real city that never sleeps and is in your DNA. A mosaic woman with a history loud enough to ratify the sanctified sensibilities. Nothing good comes de allí, but like La Samaritana, I survived the storm, especially when the world tried to water me down and call it love. Jesus walked in, Ay, que hombre. Not the sanitized Jesus with blue eyes and nice hair. Not my Jesus. He's got perfect curls and he's got Messiah brown skin who doesn't mind wounds or my tattoos, dust on his feet, and a conversation que podría incluir a few curse words, maybe one or two. And somehow no lightning bolt strikes us. He saw me. And he held the space between what others call tension. He met me like he met the others in the heat of the day, in the mess of my truth, in the place where shame goes to sit quietly and hope goes before us. And guess what? This Jesus didn't flinch. He didn't judge. He didn't clutch his pearls. He held them. He held my scars. The way an artist holds glass, not to throw it away. No. He asked me questions. Qué raro. I've never had someone ask me questions. Instead of silencing me, he talked with me. There was no judgment or side glances. He welcomed my honest sassiness rather than my performance, and he let my story breathe instead of suffocating it. Like no other, his hands were about healing, not hurting. My cracks became colors. My past became a pattern. My scars caught the light and reflected it back like stained glass, inspiring feelings of empowerment and the beauty of transformation. So hear me when I say, yo soy. So now I call the names of others just like me. Antonio, Julia, Maria. You know the names like I do. They've been wrong before about people from the urban streets because God looks at our fragments and God calls them beautiful, preciosa. Like every outcast who comes to Jesus becomes an artwork in his hands, a masterpiece that is not made by anything else but love that weaves together our scars and every broken bone. Love shines, not despite chaos, but something is reborn in the middle of the tension. The city is a beautiful place, and it is there that we too can experience Jesus. That's my time. God bless you.
Let me take this off. Muchas gracias, Reverenda Jana Cruz Pagan. Please join in this response. We receive with this story with gratefulness. Introducing Reverend John Nichols, he says, I used to think stories were how we made sense of things. Now, I think they are how we survive, not making sense of them. As a chaplain, I watch people reach for words that can hold their pain, and sometimes all I can do is listen until one of those words becomes a story.
You want to know my story, he said. Well, it's not some Sam and Diane crap. Though that was a good place, wasn't it? Where everyone knows our name. Isn't that what we all want? He asked. To be known? I clarified. Yeah, but if you know it didn't end well for them. Sam and Diane, I asked. Yeah, but who am I kidding? You're too young to know. Cheers. Come on, everyone knows cheers, I said. He said, well, then if you know, then you know. The story, for all the laughs and the smiles, it doesn't end in a good place. It ends with tragedy. It ends with goodbyes. Goodbyes, I said. Is that what's on your mind? He says, what am I supposed to tell you? I'm not a poet. What am I supposed to say? Something like I'm sand in an hourglass slipping away? No, I'm going to die of cancer. Everyone dies of cancer. And then what he said next stuck with me. He said, you know, they say it takes faith to believe in God. Because of all the wars and the famines and the kids getting hurt, it's not really the glowing resume for a loving God, is it? And in that moment, I thought he was baiting me into an argument until he said what came next. He said, because of all the messed up stuff I've done in my life, the question I really wonder about is, does God believe in me? And we let that hang in the air for a while. He said, maybe he just pretends I don't exist. I'm not really one you'd brag about creating. I didn't know what to say. I thought for a while. And I remembered something they say about playwriting. And I asked him, do you know the difference between a comedy and a tragedy? And he looked over at me as if he was wondering if I was serious. I said, the difference between a comedy and a tragedy is that a tragedy denies us another chance. He laughed again, that dry smoker's laugh, and said, yeah, for now. Yeah, for now. And that was the last time we spoke, the last time I saw him, and I thought about that conversation a lot. I mean, what do you tell a person who asks you, does God believe in them? And I have wondered to myself, maybe that's the mystery at the heart of the gospel. That faith doesn't begin with us. It begins with a God who first moved towards us, a God who believes in us and decided that this story was worth telling. Maybe that's what grace is after all. God's insistence that this story shouldn't end how it should end. An insistence that it should keep going. And maybe that's the joke grace keeps telling, the one we keep missing, that the story doesn't end as we thought it should, and that it keeps going. So, for now.
Thank you, Reverend John Nichols. Join again in this response. We receive this story with gratefulness.
Good evening. I'm Reverend Darren Stylianopoulos, Program Director for the Nurturing Children Initiative. And to those of you gathered here and those of you joining virtually, it is my joy to tell you about the 6-word story exhibit. It is said that Ernest Hemingway was once challenged to write a full story using only 6 words, and he did. And this is the story he shared. For sale, baby shoes, never worn. Over the past 6 months, we have invited folks across our denomination to submit 6-word stories of their own, their lived stories on how God has been experienced in their living as a source of liberation, transformation, and connection. We received 63 submissions, including 3 from the children of the Nurturing Children Initiative. You can experience those 6-word stories that have been submitted on this display in Innovators Hall. As a part of this exhibit, in addition to the stories we've already received, it is our hope that your living story will be added to them. We are inviting you, as you are gathered here at Space for Grace and as you join us virtually for this evening and for tomorrow evening's storytelling, to write a 6-word story on how you have experienced God as a source in your story, a source of connection, liberation, or transformation. If you're comfortable sharing it, we invite you to pin it to the foam boards provided, being extra cautious with those pins, 1 pin per postcard, or to submit your story in the chat if you're joining virtually. If you are here and you have a story, a 6-word story, or a prayer that you are not so comfortable sharing publicly, we also have a dissolvable prayer station in our 6-word story exhibit where you can write your story on a dissolvable piece of paper and then place it in the bowl of water and allow it to be held by God and by all who are gathered here in spirit. We are hoping to share some of these 6-word stories during our evenings in Innovators Hall, and hope that you will engage the 6-word story exhibit as you journey through this week. May these stories entrusted to us and to God be a source of blessing in our time together and in our hearts as we go from Space for Grace to wherever God is leading us beyond this gathering. Amen. If we could move to the next slide. This is another great joy that I have this evening to introduce our 3rd storyteller. Diego Meneses is a photographer and veteran, having served 12 years of active duty in the U.S. Marine Corps. Diego takes pride in his Colombian heritage and treasures family. And he is a colleague of mine, currently serving as the program coordinator for Latino Ministries and Creciendo Juntos at American Baptist Home Mission Societies. So we celebrate Diego and his story, and I invite you to hear more about his story from Diego.
Greetings from Bexwood Park, right outside Norristown and King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. And right behind me, what you see is the Schuylkill River, right after sunset. And I am also right next to Valley Forge National Historic Park. And the reason I picked this spot at this time is because this is one of my favorite places in all of Montgomery County. My name is Diego Alonso Meneses, and I am orgullosamente colombiano. Yes, I was born in Colombia, South America, and I came to this country, well, rather, I was brought to this country when I was 3 years old. We immigrated to Elizabeth, New Jersey, where I actually lived until the age of 18. At that point, I enlisted in the United States Marine Corps and served for a little over 11 and a half years until the rank of Staff Sergeant, which is in E6. During my time in the Marine Corps, I was able to participate in several operations, one being Desert Storm, Desert Shield. I was stationed in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia at the port of Jubail, and also Operation Restore Hope, which was located in Mogadishu, Somalia. I am happily divorced and the father of 5 beautiful children. I believe that one of my highest callings in life is to be a dad, to be a father to my children. I'm also part of American Baptist Home Mission Societies. I'm very proud to be there. I've actually been working there for a little over 2 years, and currently my position is with the Intercultural Ministries Unit, and I am with Latino Ministries as the program coordinator for Latino Ministries, working very closely in the Creciendo Juntos initiative. I want to thank you for taking the time to watching this video and getting to know a little bit about myself. And I'm eager to share the 3 pictures with you that deal with dreams, it deals with fellowship, and it deals with missions. Thank you very much, and God bless.
God will listen to your dreams. God provides fellowship wherever you go. The mission, Restore Hope, Mogadishu, Somalia. We receive these stories with gratefulness. We carry these stories with us with care.
That is our Innovators Hall for this evening. Take these stories with you with care. Continue to join each other's fellowship. For those that still have energy, you heard it said right here on the stage, singers and maybe not so singers, karaoke is up next. But rest well tonight. Be restored. We have another full day tomorrow, and back here at about 7:30, we'll continue Innovators Hall again. Good night.